Funeral Celebrant Podcast, episode number 3.
When you invite people to participate in something, they're not just bystanders at a memorial service. They really are connecting with the family. It's really beneficial for everybody.
Hello, listeners, and thank you for joining me on the Funeral Celebrant Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Fraser. I hope you're having a nice day, and I'd just like to express my gratitude for joining us here on Always Memorial Radio. There's a lot of resources out there for end-of-life planning and care, and I just want to thank you for joining us today. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Julie Donegan. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
And so you're with the Life Chest, is that right?
That's right. And
so one of the things that Donna does over at the Life Chest is has the employees go through the celebrant training. And I just thought it was so cool that she did that, because it just brings a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, and kind of rounds out the individual when it comes to helping families. And I know it's really common in funeral homes to encourage the funeral director, and even not funeral directors, even assistants and other positions, to become a celebrant and to at least go through the training. So I think I actually just made the cut to be a millennial, and so I think it's 1981 is the year, and so you're, I think, firmly in the millennial age bracket. And where did you do the training, and what company?
I did it with Donna through Insight Institute. It was at the ICCFA in Nashville this past spring. And it was really interesting. We were the only suppliers that have ever participated. And I travel the country for the Life Chest, and I meet with our distributors and the firms that offer the Life Chest to families. And what I do is I train their teams, I provide support, and I get their feedback. So by going through celebrant training, the expectation was that I'd walk away with this new skill set that would give me fresh ideas and a new perspective that I would then take to our firms so that they could more effectively incorporate the Life Chest into their services. So that's how I got introduced to celebrant training, and Donna did it alongside me, like I mentioned, and it was such an interesting experience, and I really took away quite a bit from it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to dive into how the training has helped in your training of the funeral homes that are presenting the products. But yeah, so you went through Insight, and Glenda was teaching that. Is that right?
That's right, Glenda Stansbury.
And how long was the training?
3 days.
Was 3 full days?
Well, you register and check in the first day in like the afternoon, and you do an evening session. So that's not a full. And then you have 1 full day, and then the third day is filled with presentations where you're partnered off the day prior, and you actually write a completely original funeral, and you put it together and present it to the group to get their feedback. So it was a very interesting structure to the training, and they pack in a lot in those 3 days.
So in your training, and the ideas and the concepts you were introduced to at the training. How has that affected the way that you present the life chest to funeral homes?
Well, we actually, through those presentations, had the opportunity to use the life chest in the service, because one of the elements of any celebrant service that you put together, there are 7 elements that you learn when you go through the training, and one of them is participation. And Donna and I had been looking for a way to share with funeral directors how to incorporate the life chest to engage people at visitations or memorial services. And when you invite people to participate in something, they're not just bystanders at a memorial service. They really are connecting with the family. It's really beneficial for everybody. So the life chest, we incorporate it by, you can do it a couple different ways. You can use it almost as an interactive guest book, where you have it where people enter the visitation and they drop in photos, mementos, or letters to the family, or that they received from the loved one that's passed away. It's kind of a way to share your relationship with that person, with their family, so they can learn new things about their loved one. You can also invite people as part of the ceremony, whether it just be the immediate family or any of those attending, to bring up mementos and drop it inside the life chest, and share a story about what you're putting inside the life chest. And you can also use the life chest to display and hold an urn alongside someone's keepsakes, their most cherished items that represent who they are. So there's a number of different ways you can use a life chest. And by going through the celebrant training, I learned what ways would make the biggest impact and how to share those with funeral directors. So I think by going through this training and experiencing that and having to put together the service myself and get the feedback from my peers, now when I speak with funeral directors, they really do get it.
And I can just imagine how an urn can be kept inside of a life chest for someone who wants to kind of put it away in a special place.
Right. Because a lot of people we speak to, they end up, oh, well, I have so-and-so's urn, but it's in our closet, or it's in the basement, or, they aren't always out on display because not everyone's comfortable having them out on display. And the life chest is a beautiful place that where important things are inside of it because of its quality and because it's displayed in the home. And it's a safe place to put an urn where you can also have keepsakes there to visit too.
In my parents' living room, they actually have an old chest that is kind of like, looks like cargo from the 1800s. And it stands up tall, and it's kind of a life chest. Keeps some of their valuable collectibles. They liked antiques, and so they've got some nice antiques and just other memorable things.
Yeah.
What size is the life chest roughly?
So we have a few different sizes, and we call them collections, but you could compare them to a large ottoman, the largest sizes. So it's like 24 inches wide by 17 and 17 high is like the average of the full-size life chest. So they're a good size, but they're not the trunk style that perhaps your parents have or that people think of when they think of a hope chest or a cedar chest. They're meant so that you can lift them up and move them if you need to different rooms in the home, or if you need to take it with you. So it's something that can be lifted by one person.
one of the rituals that's really popular in ceremony is for people to leave something in the casket or in a special place. Did you come across any? Did you come across any ideas for using the life chest as a keepsake for those items?
Yeah, so we've definitely heard of that ritual, and Donna and I were talking, and it's just such a shame, if that's where you want to put those items, by all means, but then the rest of your family and generations after won't get to, experience those and discover their value. So by putting them in the life chest, you ensure that, that legacy and those keepsakes are going to be passed on. So what we recommend is that instead of putting those items in the casket where you're not going to see them again, not only do you put them in the life chest, but that, and we are partnered with BeRemembered.com, is that you go onto that website and you write about the story of those keepsakes. Because a lot of keepsakes we have these days, they don't have a ton of, monetary value all the time. Sometimes they do. But a lot of times the keepsakes that we care the most about are not worth that much, in money, but they have a lot of sentimental value. So by, if you can write it in a journal, but you can also go online to BeRemembered.com and put it somewhere that no matter what you can access and find. And BeRemembered.com has all kinds of sections that prompt you and engage you to share stories about tangible keepsakes that you have, or your favorite books, or your favorite memories, or a bucket list. There's all different ways you can jot things down that are important to you online that correlate with what's inside your life chest.
I think this concept of having a place for memorial items has been around a long time. And I think the life chest is really has something that resonates with people, and I think that can be seen by the growth of your company and the reactions and feedback that's been seen on the Today Show and Donna Yost's amazing work. So let's say there's someone your age that is thinking about becoming an officiant for funerals and weddings, and thinking about, what are the next steps? Do I want to become a funeral director, or do I want to become a celebrant? What advice would you give them for becoming a celebrant?
Well, I would say it's valuable to anybody, especially funeral directors. Absolutely become a celebrant too, regardless if you think you're going to end up performing ceremonies or not. It's valuable, especially valuable to funeral directors. To anybody else out there, I would encourage that they learn about celebrants, and I 100% endorse doing the training because it made a big difference for me personally. And like you mentioned, I'm not an active celebrant. I'm more of a celebrant advocate because I work for the Life Chest, and so I'm not doing ceremonies on the side or anything, but I've had my own personal experience with loss. And before I went into celebrant training, my paternal grandmother had only died a couple months prior. And so I was faced with what a lot of people are faced with, struggle between family dynamics, my grief, and, my own feelings of how things should be done. But this was the first family death I'd experienced as an adult. So it was uncharted territory. And in an effort not to step on toes, I didn't listen to my gut and say, hey, we need to do more than this. So ultimately, I walked away from the 10-minute service we had for her, and I felt a deep sense of regret. Why didn't we do more? So now that I've gone through celebrant training, looking back, I absolutely wish I I had known what I know now. And so I look forward to making whether I am someone's celebrant or I can just share with others the importance of ceremony and having a funeral. I think it's so valuable for people to learn.
Well, I think a lot of people can say the same about ceremonies that they've experienced, including myself. And some of my family members I know were just, left kind of wanting more. And I think that that's what's one of the really cool things about the Life Chest is the purpose of the celebrant training is to bring more meaning to the ceremony. And I think that the Life Chest is a really great tool and vehicle to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Julie, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and telling us your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tyler.
It was really nice talking with you.
Nice talking with you.
Listeners, thanks so much for joining me on the Funeral Celebrant Podcast. Until next time.